You don't have to.
So today we're going to continue with the sum and difference formulas. And so what I have is I just put those up there as a review. You should already have those in your notes. Now a little bit about those. Sine is going to be sine, cosine, cosine, sine. That's the pattern. You need to start recognizing the pattern. Cosine is cosine, cosine, sine, sine. And then the tangent is the only one with tangent. Okay, so once again, sine is sine, cosine, cosine, sine. Cosine is cosine, cosine, sine, sine. So remember, those are also in your book. And so let's go ahead and look at the following. You can look in your book if you didn't get those down. Okay, so now it says find the exact value of each expression. Now in looking at that, okay, which one of the three does that fit? Cosine, because remember sine was sine, cosine, cosine, sine. Cosine is cosine, cosine, sine, sine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to condense that down. So basically I'm starting at the right side of the formula and I'm going to the left side. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and use the two angles that it gives me in the problem. And then the last thing you need to figure out is what do you do with those two angles? What do you do with them? Add them. Why do I add them when it says to subtract here? Because cosine is opposite. Remember with cosine we did the opposite of the operation they give us. Now with sine we do the same operation, but that was in the formula as well. And so now what I need to do is I need to go ahead and add those two quantities together. And so to add them together I need to add the fractions. 7/8 plus 5/24. So go ahead and add that for me. And what do you get? Yep. What'd you get? Not 33. 13 pi over 12. So now on your pink sheet, I need to look and see if I know 13 pi over 12. Is it on there? No. And so as a result, this is going to be my final answer. Now, if that would have been on there, I would have expected you to answer the value. Okay, so if it would have been like cosine of pi over 4, I would have expected the answer to be root 2 over 2. Okay. If it would have been like cosine of pi over 3, I would have expected the answer to be 1/2. But since this isn't on your pink sheet, this is as simple as it gets. Okay. Let's look at another one. So this one says tangent of 32 plus tangent of 13 all over 1 minus tan of 32, tan of 13. Now our goal is to recognize which one of the three is this. Tangent. And so I'm going to go ahead and write down tangent. I'm going to use the two angles, which are 32 and 13. And what am I going to do with those two angles? I'm going to add them because remember, that up there matched the very first part of tangent. And so if I add those together, I get tangent of what? 45 degrees. Now, can I find the tangent of 45 on the pink sheet? Yeah. And what is the tangent of 45? 1. So that is the answer I expect. So far, so good? Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is this. Sine of 4x cosine of 2x minus cosine of 4x sine of 2x. All right, which one does this match? Sine, because remember sine, the pattern was sine, cosine, cosine, sine. So I've got to take the sine. I've got my parentheses. I'm going to put in there 4x and 2x. And what am I going to do with the 4x and the 2x?
Subtract.
Subtract, because remember sine matched. So now I get sine of what? 2x. Do you know that? Nope. There you go. Got two more problems to look at. So let's go ahead and look at this one. It says verify each identity. So far we have the simplify, now we've got the verify, and then we've got one more type of problem we're going to look at that's a little different. So this one says verify the identity. Now what you're going to do here is you're going to pick the most complicated side to work down. The left side, obviously, because you can expand that, right? So what I need to do is expand this. And so to expand that, I'm going to use the formula. So remember the formula for cosine is going to be cosine of the first angle, which in this case is pi, times the cosine of the second angle, which is theta. What comes next? Plus, very good. Then I've got, can somebody finish it for me? Perfect. Sine of pi, sine of theta. And I want to show that that equals negative cosine theta. Ideas as to what I can do? Yep, what are you doing over there, Jacob?
The sheet.
Yep. So tell me what you get.
-1.
For which one?
Cosine pi.
Good. So if you didn't catch what Jacob's doing, he's looking at his pink sheet and he's saying, oh, the cosine of pi I know is -1. So I'm going to plug -1 in there, and when I do that, I'm left with cosine of theta. And so then now the next thing to do is do the same thing for sine. So I'm going to substitute in the fact that sine is what? 0 times sine of theta. Now in looking at that, 0 times anything is always what? 0. So really this is gone. And then I'm left with -1 times cosine of theta, which is actually just negative cosine theta. And that's going to equal negative cosine theta. So far, so good.
Where did you get the sign?
Because that's from the formula for cosine of a plus or minus b.
How do you know what it is?
Because it said cosine.
Oh, so whatever it says up there, that's what you do.
If it would have said sine, you would have used the sine formula. So let's go ahead and look at this one. Now, this one, the instructions, this is the last part of your homework. The instructions here are to solve for 0 to 2 pi. So this is the last part of your homework. So we will have taken a problem from each section. This is not a verify the identity. We're not going to get down to the point where 1/2 equals 1/2. So that's not going to happen. So now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and expand these. And so I'm going to go ahead and expand this one right here. Now I'm going to tell you this is a problem that's going to get long this way, but it's not going to be very long this way. Okay, so we're going to have a lot on this next line to write, but then we'll be able to get rid of a lot of it. So sine of pi over 6 plus x is going to give me sine of pi sixths cosine x. What sign will come next? Plus, yep. Cosine pi over 6 sine of x. Now that is nothing more than what I've underlined in purple. Now what I need to do is I need to do the same thing for this one right here. So I'm going to go through the same process. So I end up getting sine of pi over 6 cosine x. What will come next? Minus cosine of pi over 6 sine of x. And that will equal 1/2. So like I said, it's long this way. Now we're going to be able to drop out some things. What do you notice? What do you notice about these two things right here?
Opposites.
They're opposites. So since they're opposites, they cancel each other out, right, when you add them together? So really, those are now gone. So then what I look at is I look at the fact I have sine of pi over 6 cosine x right here. And then I have sine of pi over 6 cosine x right here. So if I add them together, I really have 2. Okay? So that makes 2 sine pi over 6 cosine x. And that's going to equal 1/2. Now remember, my goal again was not to get 1/2 equals 1/2. It's going to be to solve this equation. Ideas? Yep, sine of pi over 6. I know from my sheet is 1/2. So if I plug in 1/2 in for that, I end up getting 2 times 1/2, which is what? 1. So what am I left with on the left side when all is said and done? Cosine of x. And that's going to equal 1/2. So now our goal was to solve for 0 to 2 pi. Ideas? And what do you get?
5 pi over 3.
And?
Pi over 3.
Yep. So you have 2 answers here. Now for those of you wondering where do you get those answers, you're going to use your pink sheet and you're going to look on the pink sheet and see where cosine equals 1/2. You're going to notice there are 2 values. They are pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3, and that is your final answer. Now just for kicks, let's say instead of saying, if it said find for 0 to 2 pi, let's say it said find all solutions. If it said find all solutions, do we remember how we distinguish the two? Plus or minus what? 2 pi n. Good. So if it would have said find all solutions, we would have put this. The reason why I'm throwing that in there is I don't want you to forget that, because we're going to be having a test shortly.
Oh, shoot.
Probably in the next week and a half.
But we don't do that.
You don't do that on this one. I just wanted you to review.
If you did it, would it make it wrong?
Yeah, technically, because you're only looking at that interval from 0 to 2 pi. Okay, what I need you to do is add to your assignment. Here you go. 11 through 16, 18 through 21, 36, 38, 40, and 42. Now, the first bunch, this right here, is just like the first 3 problems we looked at. These 2 are like the second to last problem we looked at where we verified and we proved. And then these 2 were the very last ones that we looked at where we were looking at an angle. Okay, so those all match up with the examples you did in class. All right, quiz time. So, notes.
Oh, God.